So what you want to do in the basements is measure, I generally start in the middle of the wall, in the middle of the length, because that's going to be the worst. A lot of times, the most, where you have the most movement. And then what you want to do is measure on the bottom, the middle, and the top of the wall, and to see how far out it is. So simply what you do is put your tape on here. It's going to shoot a beam straight up. And I just, for ease of math, I just set it on an easy to measure mark here. So we're at 20 inches out. You go up, find the beam. We're right at 20 here. So there's zero movement from the bottom up to the middle. Now we go to the top, and we're at 20 let me see, 20 and a quarter. So from here to here it moves a quarter of an inch, which is within tolerance, so you don't have to do anything. Sometimes, for example, the house that Eric and I are doing on 65th Street in Wauwatosa, there's a section of that wall that's out 3/4 of an inch. I had the basement guy down there, just confirming what I thought. Well, it's 3/4 of an inch down in one spot, but if you measure the corner, all the way in the corner, it was built out, I believe, 1/4 of an inch. So that brings you back to your 1/2 inch, because if it's already built out 1/4 and you're 3/4 here, you can subtract that, and now you're at 1/2, and now that's within tolerance. You don't have to do anything. So it's these things are around $90, $100. They're definitely worth the investment. It's super easy to measure up the walls. And again, when you're measuring it, it's up to the deflection point. So a lot of times in the basements along the frost lines, you'll see a crack going across, and the wall, the bottom of the wall will be going like this, exaggerated, the top going like this. So you're measuring from the bottom up to the deflection point, and then again from here up to here. Does that make sense?
How many spots around the basement do you check?
I'll check the middle of the wall, and if that's off, then I'll measure the corners to see if the corners were built off. And I'll just do that going all the way around. Usually the longer walls have more of the issues. However, there are some cases where you'll have a corner that's completely busted out. Actually, the place in Tulsa on 65th Street, we've got to rebuild one of the corners. Actually, they'll just be able to push it back in place and tuck point it. But yeah, it's easy. Just measure the middle of all the walls and then work backwards from there if needed.
When you say a 1/2 inch is tolerance, do you ever have to worry about I guess other people come and look and say, well, that could be, what I'm saying, for resale price, would you ever fix that, or?
If you're at a 1/2 inch, now what you can do, if you're at, that 1/2 inch or that inch of where you may have to excavate or not, the best way to do it is spend $400 and call Gendusa. They're structural engineers, and they wrote the RAF basement contractor code, and bring those guys in. Their opinion basically trumps any home inspector.
Okay.
And they're kind of the gospel as far as what's acceptable and what isn't. And so there are times where, and also there are times where you can save some money, where you've got a basement guy coming in, and he says you've got to excavate and beam, and it's a $15,000 job, but it's right on the borderline of having to do it or not. Well, spend $400, have Gendusa come in, and they may say, no, you don't have to excavate this wall, you only need to do that one.
Okay.
So you can save yourself some money that way.
About measuring the corners, you're measuring the corners the same way you measure the wall, and if it bows in the center, then you can subtract that from this.
Right.
Okay.
Sometimes they're not built plumb.
Okay.
Right. And that's not always the case. It's not always a simple subtraction, but in most instances, that's what you can do.
Okay.
The important thing is this much is really sufficient for the estimating purposes. You come down here, you can tell if you've got a problem, and you can estimate how much of it's a problem. If you come in here though, and if he's measured up 20 feet of wall and he thinks that he's going to have to excavate or he's going to have to beam, he's going to price it out and he's going to bid on it accordingly. But if it gets close to the process where he's about to buy it, he's going to call up the contractor, have him come out and get a real number in place, because these numbers can vary. And often, as many times as it's not, we've been estimating high and they can come in a little bit low. But I still want to have the contractor who's going to do this and give me full warranty on the work come out and tell me, all right, it's going to be $11,800, full warranty, done and done. then you pencil that in your numbers and you know you've got it finished.
Yeah. So also, if you go in basements and you see water discoloration, generally anything below knee height and down is going to be drain tile issue related. So if you've got standing and stuff down here, you may have a drain tile issue. If it's above knee height, it's generally from the outside. A lot of times these houses are, you know, no one's cleaned the gutters or the downspout in years and they're all filled. Or you've got a neighbor's driveway plowing all their water into the side of your house. You may have to put some drain tile on the outside to get rid of that water.
What do you have to do with drain tiles if it's below the knee? That has to be excavated, or the drain tiles
Well, what they do
have
is,
to be
if you can
replaced?
see, the floor is painted, so it's a little hard to tell. But right here, you can see where they've got this feathered in, the cement. So basically, they take and cut all the way across here and bust this cement out. And then they lay the drain tile in here, and then they connect it to a sump pump, a crock in the ground with a sump pump, pump the water out.
Okay.